Welcome to NexGenEdu's AI Innovation Series, where we take a quick, candid look at real people and their views and the use of AI to transform higher education. No hype, just insight. Lawrence Rhew brings over 30 years of experience at the intersection of technology and education. Each episode features conversations with inspiring individuals who are passionate about helping others succeed through learning. And now, your host, Lawrence Rhew.
Thanks, Chris, and welcome to NexGenEdu, where we explore the intersection of leadership, innovation, and the future of higher education. Today, I'm honored to be joined by President Krista Newkirk of the University of Redlands. President Newkirk has led the university through a period of remarkable transformation, including institutional growth, innovation, sustainability, and thoughtful approach to artificial intelligence in higher education. I'd like to welcome her to the stage, and we can get started.
Great.
All right.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Lawrence.
Oh, let me start again because I did mess it up again.
Okay.
So just go ahead. Now you can say good morning. I'll know to cut that.
Good morning. Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I know, we've been kind of chatting in the background, and I'm excited to have you here and hear a little bit about how you're leading the organization and how AI is helping you transform students' lives. I'd like to start by just letting you give a little background on yourself and the institution, if you don't mind, for the audience.
Yeah, no, happy to. So the background on myself is I have been at the University of Redlands now for 5 years. Before that, I was the president of Converse University in South Carolina. And before that, I was one of the legal counsel and then chief of staff at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte for 13 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the University of Redlands was founded in 1907. We're in Redlands, California, about 75 miles east of Los Angeles. And so between Los Angeles and Palm Springs, in a really beautiful area. And it was founded as a Baptist institution originally. It's no longer associated with the Baptist Church at all. Interestingly enough, they founded it here because they thought it would be safe from the fault lines for earthquakes, and yet we built it pretty much right on a fault line. But we don't see many bad earthquakes here. And so it's been a fabulous institution. That was one of the first new American college and university models that combines liberal arts with professional programs and really focuses on its community. We have about 47% first generation college students.
Oh, wow.
We're really proud about. And we're really focused on accessibility and affordability for our students and really strong student outcomes. And so it's just been an honor to be here the last 5 years.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. I'd like to start with all the transformation you've had and the success. Like, what have you seen as the biggest leadership lessons in transforming in that, and maybe even how you've introduced AI into that?
Yeah, I think the biggest leadership lessons are you just cannot over communicate. I think it's really critical to create space to listen to people and then to share information, to be transparent throughout all of that. And to make sure that whatever you're doing, it stays connected to the mission of the institution. I would say most of the work that we've done to date has not had a strong AI connection, but we are doing work now that I think going forward will be heavily influenced by AI and driven by AI. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Well, so you talked about your values and you're proud of what the institution's done. How are you going to balance the innovation part of that and you're making sure you preserve that, but move the institution forward?
Yeah, so I think how you balance that is by talking to the individuals. And we've always been a student-focused institution. And so I think that's where we're starting is, as we look at innovation, how do we implement innovation in a way that connects to our mission, our vision, and our values, and also is responsible with the students. And I think this is where, particularly with AI, the liberal arts and that experiential learning side of what we do is even more critical. We have to think about AI in terms of the human related aspect of AI. And the liberal arts is really designed to teach individuals how to think, how to do analysis, what to question. And I think that's even more critical at this time of AI, where we need to be stepping back and questioning the answers that we're getting, how the algorithms are set up, what is the base of learning it's been using, what are the biases that builds into that as it's using and using old information and building a top of that to try to replicate success. And then how do we make sure that our students throughout all of this are ready and agile for the changes that are coming and focused on the interpersonal skills, the career skills, the professional skills that are going to be critical as AI takes over some of the hopefully just the grunt work and not the creative aspect. But I think the human skills are going to become ever more critical as we're going forward.
Yeah, two things. Like one, I've gotten into AI creating music just recently. Like I made one for my friend that retired and did this, and to me, it just helped overcome the weaknesses I have in singing and creating music. But there's still a lot of creativity in creating that type of art, right? You just have new tools to do that.
New tools.
That's pretty exciting. The other thing, I took AI and I did like when it was Super Bowl time, I did each one and I said, who's going to win? And all four of them had different answers that I used. and nobody was right in the end. So, that whole idea of questioning it, where are they getting the information? What are they using? I think it's critical because that's what was interesting to me is what did they use and why did they come up with different answers? And, and this was like into the season a little bit. So, they had some data to go on, but it was kind of neat. So, you talked a little bit about the students and their skills. Are there anything you're identifying as an institution, or maybe they're even help self-identify as hard skills are going to need around AI?
I think it's going to go to, in terms of hard skills, I think it will go to an understanding of how the large language models are built and what they're relying upon, where the weaknesses are, where AI tends to have hallucinations and make up information to fill in the gap, and how you really question the answers that you're getting from AI. I mean, I think there's certainly hard skills and how do you create the right prompts and what can you ask AI to do that takes some of the technical side off of it. So I think it's going to make some of the programming aspect a lot easier for people because now you can ask AI to write the language you want it to write to do what you want it to do and then put it in. I mean, so I think a lot of the technical aspects are going to become more reachable for people who have not had a deep dive into coding and things like that. But then it's how you use it that I think is critical to teach, and the ethics behind the use of AI, an understanding of how you use it efficiently so that it's not harming the environment as much. And so I think there's a lot to really take into this moment. And the policy behind it. I mean, like we've seen before, when there's significant innovation, we don't tend to see the legislative bodies understand it at the pace and write policy at the pace that keeps up with it and is addressing it. I mean, and I think just this week we saw AI executives who were basically begging for policy to slow them down because they can't slow down on their own without falling behind in the competition that's so stiff right now in regard to AI, and yet they're seeing just how dangerous it could be without some checks and balances put into place. And so I think that's where we have to train our students enough in what it is and what it can do and the impacts it can be having so that they can be thinking about all of these issues and bringing a global and historic and cultural aspect into those considerations to really inform the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I watched a special on the plane the other day while I was sitting there on AI, and it was kind of like optimism and concern. I was trying to balance both sides of it. So it was pretty interesting. And I wasn't too concerned because I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, there is concern. You want to use it, with humanity in mind. You want to use it responsibly. but it got into this, big companies competing, and you're like, yeah, they're going to do stuff that's going to get them ahead, that they're going to be less risk
Yeah.
averse. You hear that with people leaving companies because they don't think they're doing the right thing and that sort of stuff. But then it got into the governments and how important it is for them to be the leaders. And that's where I started getting, a little scared, is because, that then it's like gloves are off, because when we're competing, globally against each other to be at the forefront of that, like it's going to be a race to the goal line, right?
Yeah.
With shoes
Yeah.
off. It is something we have to consider and take seriously.
Yeah.
One of the things we help some institutions go in and try to understand where they don't have to make a big investment to get in AI, but are y'all getting into that piece where you're actually having to take some money or take other funds and invest, and how are you making that decision?
Yeah. So we've done some of that. We've done implemented AI in terms of some of our admissions work and student outreach and connections and answering questions and things. I mean, we find that oddly, students don't generally contact us during normal business hours. And so having a resource for them that is kind of a natural conversational style way of answering their questions sometimes makes them more comfortable in asking questions that they would be less comfortable asking a human about, maybe their finances or affordability or some of those other concerns. And that's been really valuable. I think we're careful in trying to make sure that companies aren't over promising. A lot of times they talk about, well, AI is going to do this or whatever, but when you get into it, it's still not quite there and it's a bit clunky. And so I think that makes taking the time to play in the sandbox and actually see what it's doing and not doing is really critical. I mean, I think the interesting question that's coming is, to what extent are we going to need all of these different software packages in the future? To what extent can I just take our institutional data and then apply AI to run things that we're asking all of these different companies to do for us, that they're trying to layer AI on? At some point, I can do that myself.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen some companies, they're trying to build AI into their product, but then some are have it as an add-on, and so that it's a per usage charge.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting scenario to see play out, right? Because then it's when you make it part of your core way you operate, and you're relying on it, and you're paying, let's say, a cent, a transaction or something like that, it could get out of control pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's really it's interesting to see the different business models that are coming out of it. And I think the more you understand AI, and I will admit, I am not like a deep AI user yet, but as I'm talking to my CIO and others, the more that they're using it and developing their agents and putting layers of ontology there, they're actually driving down the cost per use. And so they're able to get it to operate more and more efficiently. And so I know that there's real concern about the environmental impact of AI. I think as we're learning it, there is an opportunity where it could actually have less impact than our current software systems, where we're doing multiple steps, if it can now be trained to do it in one step. And so I question where that's going to take us, and if it can be actually more sustainable than what we have in place.
When you talk about the environmental impacts, you're talking more broad,
water
like
usage,
data centers,
electricity usage, and things like that. Because what I see right now, Lawrence, is a schism in young people in terms of how they're approaching AI. I think of it kind of in three buckets. There are those who are like, bring it on. I want to learn everything about it. I want to use it for everything as much as possible until you tell me I can't. Then there's the group that's like, I think it's evil. I don't want to touch it. It's going to destroy the environment. It's cheating. It's ruining the mind. And I don't want anything to do with it. And then there are sort of those that are saying, I don't like it, but I also see that I'm going to have some skills in it for jobs down the road. And so what do I need to know with it to utilize it for my work?
Yeah, I understand. That's pretty interesting. Earlier you were talking about the customer service aspect, and there was something I saw a podcast, and it was more a marketing podcast, but it was Salesforce was on their Dreamforce, and they were talking about how they AI enabled their tier one call center, and
Yeah,
it was doing really well. You know, big resolution rates, and but very mechanical. Like you call in and say my system's broken, and it was like do this.
yeah,
And we were like, well, what's going on? You know, people still aren't happy, but we're resolving the problems. They ended up figuring it wasn't providing like the human aspect of it. So they just fed it its their customer service guide, and then it was able to say, "Oh, I'm sorry that's happening to you."
yeah.
You know, the way people are training these things to just give better outputs are very incredible. The other thing that was interesting about that for people who might be interested was that resolution rate is usually a metric that you're really trying to see if you're having good customer service, but they didn't drive that to the utmost. They said somewhere people got to be able to get out of this easier.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to this machine, which I think was a good a good piece too, and a lesson for a lot of people.
Yeah, how many of us have been stuck in that menu loop, and you're like, just get me to the representative, right?
Representative. You're screaming it, right?
Yeah.
So what are you most excited about the potential impact of AI?
Yeah, so we filed a patent, Lawrence, that I'm really excited about on AI. And what we're really thinking about is how we can take AI, particularly for the non-traditional learner, and use it to better give them credit for their knowledge and truly personalize
Mhm.
education. So our vision is to lead a personalized education. And I think AI can help us do that. And so, what this is really designed to do is to understand what are all the student learning outcomes we expect an individual to have to graduate, let's say, with a business degree. And then we look at what this individual is bringing in. So AI can look at their transcript for any prior credit hours, any certificates they have, their job description, their job evaluations, any awards they received, their military career, whatever that is. And then quantify or verify that what they say they know, they really know through testing and some other mechanisms, and then teach to the delta. And
Yeah.
so it's no longer tied to time to degree or credit hours and such. It should be about verifying mastery of the materials and such. And so that's where I think there's going to be some real innovation, where you can separate degree from credit hours as one of the ways we use to measure mastery.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very transformative for people because they spend a lot of time getting life experience,
Yeah.
getting credit for it when
And it could
verified.
count.
It
Yeah.
would be great.
And ideally, we can get to a point where we truly are just teaching those chapters or these things that you don't have mastery of and get them to that level and add in experiential learning and such. So it's not just proving it, but then we can help them find their way to really getting the credit and the salary and the job promotions for what they know versus what they've proven they know through higher education.
And that kind of creates a challenge for faculty, right? To have one course that's going to be able to meet everybody's needs. Are your faculty starting to, see things where how they use AI to teach better too? Or
Yeah,
not,
I mean, I
necessarily
think,
better, differently, in a different way?
yeah, I mean, I think just like we talked about students and their approach to it and how you see a variety of approaches, I think we see that with our faculty as well.
Oh, nice.
Some are really on top of it, and some have been on top of it from the beginning in terms of using virtual reality and sending out headsets to each of our students for classrooms where they're putting their avatar in a space and working together and able to do visualization of chemistry molecules or whatever that is. And so some of them we're seeing really get on top of this, and others we're having to bring along and such. And that's where we're setting up a more focused Center for Teaching and Learning on AI with champions is the goal for this year, to really help everyone come along and ask those questions and kind of dig in and play and understand what are the opportunities to enhance learning, not replace learning, not degrade learning, but really enhance learning and student outcomes utilizing this and preparing them for the future.
You guys are members of CIC, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Have you used any of their resources?
We have. We
yeah.
did both of their resources last year, and so we had individuals from across campus engaging in the different sectors and really getting to play. And so, as we bring faculty back, I'm gonna be curious to hear what they're interested in, what they want to do, and what they've already discovered with it, and then where we can utilize that to drive this forward.
Yeah, I just did my last interview was with Dr. Hassan. You know, we like because I was really impressed when I was at CIC last time of how they
Yeah,
were kind of taking the lead on that, and as an association bringing value through training institutions. And I think anybody who's a member should really be participating in that.
yeah.
And
The price point was you just couldn't really beat it for the opportunity to get people in a room and give them a chance to learn and learn. I think it's thinking about it in a variety of ways, right? One is how are we building it across the curriculum? The other is how are we changing how we teach with AI in mind? And the third is how are we deploying it from an operational administrative side to reduce costs and gain efficiency and take off the grunt work and let us focus on the people work.
mhm.
We're really good at adding in higher ed. We're really bad at stopping in higher ed. And maybe instead of just stopping, we can let AI do some of those things that we can't
Yeah,
seem to bring ourselves to stop and then focus on things that matter more.
I think and I've seen some people do interesting projects like program evaluation with AI.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And supposedly getting good results and starting other pilots outside their institutions and transcript evaluation, these sorts of things where AI might be able to provide a very systematic evaluation are
Yeah.
really going to change, some of the work that we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know we're kind of coming to the end. I guess on my last question, is there any cautionary worry you have that you'd like to share with other presidents, or if somebody's really new into this, something you'd suggest to them?
Um, I guess two things. One, and I think most people know this, is um, be careful that what the software company or whatever says they can do with it, they really can do with it.
Hmm.
There are some that I think get a bit over their skis in terms of the people who are making the promises versus those people who are actually developing the software and trying to deliver on that. And the second is make sure you're connecting with your faculty and your students and such, and you're staying apprised of how they're feeling and what they're needing as you go through that. And I think really, try it yourself. I think you've got to see what you can do with it, and it is kind of amazing. I will say I did plan all of my vacation time this summer utilizing it with my itinerary, and it worked great.
I even did one where it coordinated my outfits for where I was going, which is
It
pretty.
it is kind of crazy what the answers you can get out of it and what it will help you do if you release it. I think there's still some legal aspects to on AI that are going to be interesting to see on how all of this plays out going
Yeah.
forward. And so I still remain a bit cautious on, we're in the early days of this. What's going to reside, what's going to continue, what's going to excel. And I'm waiting to see exactly where it goes a bit on some of it.
This is a little more minor, but I told you I was working on creating songs, I think.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to create a persona that you could reuse over and over. And now Suno, the app I use, said you can't do that anymore. It's like a copyright infringement. So it had to use my voice to then
Yeah.
create a voice, which good. It really enhanced my voice because I can't say maybe a few karaoke's, but that's it. So
Yeah.
so even that was just a new version. Like it changed it, and it's something that's going to evolve very quickly, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Fascinating.
I really appreciate your time and your answers to the questions and your openness. And I look forward to maybe seeing you at CIC here
Yeah,
in the
that
near
sounds
future.
good. Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
You have a great day. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on AI Innovation, where we explore how AI is reshaping higher education with insight, integrity, and imagination. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube for updates and future episodes. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep asking the big questions.